What's up, everybody? On today's show, Mizzou is one of the favorites this year in the SEC and a team expected to be in the hunt for the college football playoff. What does their quarterback, Brady Cook, think about raised expectations around Como? Locked On SEC starts right now.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what's up, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. It's great to have you guys along on today's show. We will catch up with our conversation with Brady Cook from Missouri. Also, tons of recruiting news coming out in the last week. We'll get you caught up on that and much, much more. I'm Chris Gordy. Thanks for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Shout out to our everydayers. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. And today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. All right. As we continue our series here, we did bring you some of our quarterback interviews from the Manning Passing Academy, and one of them we had yet to bring you, and had some Mizzou fans commenting and saying, "Where's your interview with Brady Cook?" Well, we got it, and we'll be bringing that to you here. We caught up with Brady Cook at the Manning Passing Academy and talked a little bit with him about expectations for this upcoming season, and obviously the changes around Mizzou with some new coaches and things like that on the defensive side of the ball, but some offensive continuity as we dive into it a little bit here on Missouri, as obviously an 11-2 season with a Cotton Bowl win over Ohio State has Mizzou fans thinking college football playoff this year. And with Brady Cook back under center, a lot of talent around him, led by Luther Burden. Look, the mood around Mizzou, people have playoffs or bust mentality right now. And Brady Cook said just a week ago, he said, "I think the standard and expectation is higher than ever, and that's what we want. It's why we work so hard. You want that standard to be high so you can go meet it and you can go exceed it." Now, Brady Cook last year set career highs with 3,300 passing yards, 21 touchdowns, just 6 picks with a 66% completion percentage. He also rushed for over 300 yards and 8 touchdowns. And with Luther Burden back, that could be, well, will be one of the best quarterback wide receiver duos in the country. Now, Greg McElroy, very well respected, has some takes on college football, and particularly listen to him when he talks about the SEC, right? I mean, he lives in SEC country, does his show there at Birmingham with Cole Kublik, and keeps track day to day on SEC teams. So when he has an opinion, a lot of people listen. And here's what Greg McElroy said on his Always College Football show. He said, "There's a lot of buzz about Missouri beating Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. Currently, if you were to ask a bunch of people that are going to prognosticate on what the preseason rankings will look like, I think a lot of people have Missouri probably within striking distance, somewhere in the top 10. Maybe in some cases they'll have them top 7 or top 8. He said they just have so many pieces back on offense, and Brady Cook is back. They've done a great job of making sure that he continues to get more comfortable, more accurate, more decisive, and I think he's been really good as a signal caller for the last couple of years. Of course, Eli Drinkwitz has done a great job here this last season plus in Missouri. If you remember, going into last year, there was some talk of him maybe being on the hot seat, going 16-19 to start his tenure at Missouri. Well, you go 11-2 and beat Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl, things flip very quickly. And obviously having offensive coordinator Kirby Moore back in year 2, there were some rumblings that maybe somebody might try to steal him away. But the Mizzou passing game, their biggest strength, their pass defense, maybe their biggest weakness. They do lose some key players to the NFL, including defensive end Darius Robinson, several starters from that secondary. But the Tigers have been very busy in the transfer portal, adding a bunch of pieces, particularly on that offensive line. I like what they've done there. And so without further ado, here was a little bit of our conversation with Mizzou quarterback Brady Cook. Catching up here with Brady Cook, Missouri quarterback. Man, I talked to your coach a couple weeks back, and what an awesome season you guys had. Finish it in fine fashion. But the worst part of having a season like that is now it's like you've raised the standard. Now you got to do it again. What excites you about this upcoming season?
Yeah, I mean, just what you said. I mean, the standard and the expectation is at an all-time high for our team, for the program. But that's what we want. You know, that's what we wish for. That's why we played so hard last year. And I'm just glad I get the opportunity to come back for one more.
Talk about some of your weapons. Obviously, Luther's grabbing all the headlines. The Heisman watch list. You yourself getting some pub, but Theo Weiss. I mean, there's a wide receiver room as a whole is pretty damn talented.
Yeah, I mean, we have some dogs in that room. I think Luther is he's really excelling. He's taking that next step this offseason. I can see it in the way he leads and the way he runs his routes and intentional at practice. Theo is Theo. He's so consistent. He's such a good target, big-time playmaker. I'm excited for him. We have Mookie Cooper coming back. We got Marquise Johnson coming back, Mekhi Miller coming back. So we got a lot of players in that room. I'm just hoping to get him the ball as much as I can.
Cody Schrader was an absolute stud for you guys last year. How do you I mean, you brought in a couple backs through the transfer portal, but looks like somebody's got to be ready to step up because that's a big hole to fill right there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we can fill that Cody Schrader gap, immediately and just like that. That's a tough gap to fill. Obviously Cody was unbelievable. Did tremendous things for our team last year, that. But we have backs this year ready to compete. We got Marcus Carroll, Nate Noel, Tavares Jones, Jamal Roberts. We have a young freshman, Kewan Lacey. So I'm excited to see them in fall camp. They've done a great job this spring. They've been competing. They've been learning from each other, pushing each other. And I'm excited to see who steps up.
You guys also brought in a couple big name transfer offensive linemen as well. What'd you see from the offensive line in the spring?
Yeah, I saw the chemistry really grow, especially with Caden Green. He came in January from Oklahoma, and immediately, he stepped in. He's buddies with Armand Membu, our right tackle, so, he learned from them, got the system down. And then we also just got Marcus Bryant from SMU, another big transfer, and he's fit really well so far in the summer.
Talk about yourself to get the continuity. There's new OCs all across the SEC, but to get Kirby Moore back, keep that continuity going, how big is that for you?
That's huge. I mean, getting the chance for him to come in last year, learn his system, rep it, have success with it, to get that confidence, and then knowing he's coming back for another year, I mean, that's huge, especially for a quarterback, obviously. So, me and him are on the same page. We spent a lot of extra time this offseason together, watching tape, talking strategy. What can we do better? What do we not do so well? And I think our synergy would be good.
Give me a guy or two you saw on defense in the spring you think is really set for a big year.
Yeah, I want to talk about our 3 DNs, honestly. Johnny Walker Jr., he's been on Mizzou. He came in with me. He's a leader on that side, won the MVP of the Cotton Bowl on the defensive side. We got Darius Smith, transfer from Georgia. I mean, he can do it all, freaky athlete. He caused some serious issues in spring. And then Zion Young, transfer from Michigan State, absolute dog. So those 3 guys I'm really excited about.
It's interesting. The schedule sets up. You guys get, I think, a stretch of home games to start the year. It's kind of be nice to stay at home and kind of get your feet under you.
Oh yeah, knowing we have 4 home games to start the year, that's huge. We don't have to travel. Home fans. So we just got to go out, protect our home for the first 4, and get ready for the road.
Well, you're typically the guy getting coached in college football. Out here, the Manning Pass Academy, you're the one doing the coaching. What was this like today?
It's fun. I enjoy doing camps, especially at the Manning. So many kids, I get to talk to thousands of kids. And, if I can just give them 1 or 2 little things that they take away or 1 or 2 moments that they really enjoy at this camp, that's enough for me.
So you talking to the GOAT, Bill Belichick, out here. What was that like?
That was awesome. He's not as scary up close when you're chatting with him. He's awesome. We talked for about 15 minutes, and, he's pretty interested in our defense. So I gave him the rundown on our guys, and, he was awesome to talk to and learn from.
What did you see from the defense? Obviously, Blake Baker going to LSU this offseason, but, next man up mentality, right?
Yeah, next man up. Coach Batoon came in the spring, and he kept the install pretty simple for our guys to make sure they're comfortable with it, make sure they're learning as we go. And I'm excited. The team bought into him, especially on defense. They feel good about it, and, we got some guys ready to step up.
Last thing, the NCAA video game is about to come out. Are you excited? Are you in the game?
I'm excited. I am in the game. I think it's coming out in a couple weeks, right? I'm excited. I don't play a lot of video games, but I'm definitely going to play that.
Brady, thanks so much for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Our thanks again to Mizzou quarterback Brady Cook. One other football note I wanted to pass along here, and this one is a South Carolina tidbit. Clemson declined a request from the ACC and ESPN to move their rivalry matchup against South Carolina to Black Friday, according to reports. TigerNet reporting court records in the report. If Clemson had agreed to move the game, it would have been played in prime time Friday, November 29th. Instead, the game will be played as scheduled on Saturday, November 30th. Now, in the wake of Clemson's refusal to move the game, the following message was sent by ACC Associate Commissioner Michael Strickland to Clemson AD Graham Neff, where he said in an email that he was disappointed in their lack of cooperation to move the game, said their decision Not to do so in this instance is harmful towards the goal of having a solid relationship with their media partner. Clemson and South Carolina first met on the football field back in 1896, and the two programs have played on the third Thursday in October through 1959. Then it was moved to November 1960, and it's typically been played on a Saturday since then. ESPN did move multiple rivalry week games to Black Friday this year in an attempt to secure more TV viewership on that day. So won't be played on Black Friday. You'll have to wait until that Saturday for Clemson, South Carolina. All right, thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Coming up next, we got tons of recruiting news. We will get to that coming your way in just a sec. But first, this episode presented to you by our friends over at the Game Time app. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer you get to first pitch. And with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time is going to take the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets. So when you get in the app, look, last-minute deals, you could save up to 60% off buying last minute for sporting events. The all-in pricing, my favorite feature, you toggle that one up front to show the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Seat views, of course, you get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy, so you know what the view is going to look like. And that lowest price guarantee or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Go take the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today. Create an account. Use our code LOCKEDONCollege. That's LOCKEDON COLLEGE. Get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem our code LOCKEDONCollege. Get $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets. Lowest price guaranteed. All right, roll along here, guys. If you have been watching Fox Sports or ESPN all day and you have to turn down the sound with all the shouting, make the switch over to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you all the biggest stories in sports without the screaming. Locked On Sports Today, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. All right, we got to jump back into this because we got some big recruiting news. It's been a ton of recruiting movement across the past week in the SEC. We won't get to everything, but we'll just get to some of the biggest names moving about. We start over at Georgia. Shamari Earls sticking with his plan to play for an SEC team, but it won't be South Carolina. It's going to be the Georgia Bulldogs. He said on his Twitter account, I would like to thank Coach Torian Gray, Coach Shane Beamer, and the entire South Carolina staff and fan base for allowing me the opportunity to be a part of their family. But at this time, I need to make the best decision for me. With that being said, I'd like to announce I'll be decommitting from South Carolina and committing to the University of Georgia. I'm a dog. He is out of the Virginia area, 6'2", 180 pounds, 4-star recruit, the number 4 recruit from the state of Virginia, the number 11 cornerback, and the number 105 prospect overall in the class of 2025. He committed to South Carolina back in April, but did not shut his recruitment down, continued taking visits. And when he was on Georgia's campus for his visit, took photos and all their different uniform combos, and Georgia got him. So bad news for South Carolina, but good news there for Georgia as they pick up Shamari Earls. How about over at Alabama? Kalen DeBoer has been doing some work. The guy hasn't even coached a game yet there in Tuscaloosa. Probably getting some help from Nick Saban on the phones, if I had to guess. But in the month of June, Alabama got commitments from 11 prospects, including 8 of those guys blue chippers, including quarterback Keelan Russell, running back Anthony Rogers, cornerback Chuck McDonald. Well, that was in the month of June. As of July, they got things going again. On Tuesday, Alabama got their first commitment of the month. 4-star tight end Kaleb Edwards committed to Alabama. He's out of the state of California, 6'6", 240 pounds, rated 4-star, the number 8 player at tight end. Now, the momentum continued into Wednesday as Justin Hill, a 4-star edge defender, chose Alabama over the likes of USC and Ohio State. He's 6'3", 220 pounds, out of the state of Ohio, rated a 4-star, number 4 player at his position, number 4 player in the state of Ohio, number 58 overall prospect in this class. Now, that puts Alabama at 20 players on the class of 2025. They did have two decommitments this past week. 4-star Maryland athlete Zamir Smith and linebacker Miles Johnson. Zamir Smith plays high school ball in the state of Maryland, committed to Alabama in March, but recently took an official visit to Maryland. So some wondering if maybe he could flip there. And then linebacker Miles Johnson had committed to Alabama back when Nick Saban was there. And some people thinking maybe Ole Miss could be in on him. He's ranked, rated the number 51 linebacker in the 2025 class, according to 24/7 Sports. All right, over at Missouri, they have been hot on the recruiting trail. They landed a commitment from 4-star offensive lineman Lamont Rogers, choosing Mizzou over the likes of Oklahoma, Texas, and Florida State. Big-time win there for Eli Drinkwitz. Rogers, the number 55 overall prospect, the number 7 offensive tackle in the country, and he's the number 13 player from the state of Texas. 6'6", 311 pounds. Lamont Rogers, big-time offensive lineman there for Drink and crew. Missouri also picked up a recruiting win in 4-star wide receiver Jayvan Boggs. He had previously committed to Ohio State, but backed off that pledge in March. It's a big-time pickup there for Missouri, continuing this train of big-time wide receivers committing to them. They also picked up a verbal commitment over the weekend from 4-star wide receiver Donovan Olubode, or Olubode, however you pronounce that, but he is originally from Illinois, committed to the Tigers on the heels of Boggs committing on July 4th. So it might be the biggest non-quarterback commitment to date. Wide receiver plays his high school football at ING Academy, listed as the number 11 wide receiver, number 86 player in the nation. So Mizzou now up to, I believe, 16 commits. They're the number 13 overall class in 24/7 Sports. Eli Drinkwitz moving up the ladder here, doing some work. And look, when you take Luther Burden as 5-star and you start to turn him into a star, you're going to start to get some of the other big-time wide receivers in the country. Over at LSU, they landed a commitment from one of the top edge rushers in the 2025 class on Friday. From Indianapolis, 4-star edge Damien Shanklin, announcing his commitment to LSU. He had a final 3 of LSU, Ohio State, and Alabama, and took official visits and made his decision. He's 6'5", 226 pounds. Big-time edge rusher, so big get there for LSU. Tigers also picked up 4-star defensive lineman Zion Williams, number 298 overall player, number 33 defensive lineman from Lufkin, Texas. And then they also picked up defensive tackle Brandon Brown, flipping him from Texas. 4-star prospect, committed to the Longhorns in December. Of course, Bo Davis, D-line coach from Texas, coming over to LSU. So, of course, that one just makes sense. But big time gets there for LSU. Now, LSU did have some unfortunate news, and Texas did as well. Kyrie Moore, the number 1 wide receiver in the country, 2 days ago, officially committed to Oregon. He committed to LSU, then decommitted, and a lot of people thought he was going to be a Texas flip. He lives in Texas. A lot of his family goes to Texas or went to Texas, and picked Oregon. So duped us all. But we won't spend much time with Kyrie Moore. He's not coming to the SEC, so who cares? LSU in the 24/7 composite rankings, now up to 6th in the country, number 5 in On3 Sports. Pretty impressive there. Over at Kentucky, they've had some momentum on the recruiting trail. Kalen Edwards, the newest Kentucky commit, defensive lineman, taken to social media a couple days ago to announce his commitment. Said, I want to thank my mom for being in my corner. With that being said, for the next 3 or 4 years, I'll be taking my talents to the University of Kentucky. We're the number 10 recruit in the state of Tennessee, 6'4", 315 pounds, the number 38 defensive lineman for the class of 2025. And then the top prospect in Kentucky is staying home. Big-time addition from 4-star edge defender Jayvan Campbell. Pledged to the Wildcats in a live ceremony, named Kentucky, Alabama, and Auburn among his finalists. He's from Frankfort, Kentucky, listed at 6'5", 265 pounds, number 22 defensive lineman, number 172 prospect overall, and like we said, the number 1 recruit from the state of Kentucky. Over at Ole Miss, they got a commitment from 4-star safety Cortez Thomas, a Mississippi native, rated amongst the highest high school recruits from the state of Mississippi for the class of 2025. big-time addition, number 217 overall player, number 18 safety in the country, and the number 9 player from the state of Mississippi. So Ole Miss now up to 10 commits in the class of 2025. See if they can keep adding to that group. And one more here, Texas. Steve Sarkisian and his group added Smith Orogbo to their class of 2025. In-state blue chip defensive lineman and listed 6'4", 220 pounds, 4-star recruit number 13 defensive lineman. And that puts Texas at 13 verbals for the class of 2025. And there you have it. That is the latest going on in the world of recruiting in the SEC. Still more to come here on Locked On SEC, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. Coming up next, a couple of baseball transfer portal tidbits. That's coming your way here in just a sec. All right, continue on here at Locked On SEC. Thank you guys for making us your first listen every day. And we got some more news and notes and tidbits going on around the conference that we got to jump into. So let's do that, shall we? As we've got some SEC baseball tidbits we're going to dive into here. As we'll start with Texas A&M. Michael Early named the official head coach at Texas A&M last week, had a press conference, and man, good news becoming the Aggies' way. Of course, they lost Jim Schlossnagle, jumped ship overnight from A&M to the University of Texas, but keeping it in-house, hiring the young up-and-coming Michael Early, and first Aggies to confirm their plans to return for Early's first season. Ali Camarillo, Hayden Schott, Gavin Grahovic, and Jace Lavalette all coming back. And from this season's Omaha squad, Caden Sorrell, Caden Kent, and Justin Lampkin have announced that they're staying in Aggie Land for 2025 as well. So big-time news there. And he and his assistants have done more work in the transfer portal. They landed Texas Tech standout first baseman Gavin Cash just a couple days ago, as well as former USC catcher Jacob Galloway. Now, for Gavin Cash, last season he batted .327 in 2023. He was a 64-game starter at 263 bats that season, and then got hotter in 2024. Last week, Cash was considered the number 3 player in the transfer portal, behind both of 2 A&M players who are both coming back. So, but Lavalette, obviously the big time get there. A lot of people had eyes on him, maybe going to LSU or elsewhere. He talked with the media. He said, "I cried when I heard that Mike was our new head coach. That's how much this man means to me. That means to this team. He's our rock. He's our foundation. I wanted to stay here. There's no place I wanted to go other than Texas A&M. It's an unbelievable school, an unbelievable institution. I'll always be an Aggie at heart and always be an Aggie in real life." So I'm excited. So good news there for Texas A&M, keeping a little continuity going there with this program. Over at LSU, they picked up a bat for their lineup, and slugger Dalton Beck, coming over from Incarnate Word. Coming off his junior season, he recorded 18 home runs with 67 runs batted in. So nice addition there for LSU. At Mississippi State, they continued their hot streak in the transfer portal, and Sunday picked up Virginia reliever Chase Hungate, who's a member of the 2024 College World Series team that ended Mississippi State's season. But the Bulldogs also added North Alabama third baseman Garrick Fry, Citadel shortstop Sawyer Reeves, USC upstate first baseman Noah Sullivan, and Campbell first baseman Reed Stallman. That all goes along with Houston all-conference freshman outfielder Ace Reese, Indiana State pitcher Jacob Pruitt, and right-hander Travis Smith from Kentucky. So Mississippi State doing some work in the transfer portal, Chris Lemonis and crew. And meanwhile, Paul Skeens, former LSU baseball player from just a year ago, helped them win it all out in Omaha. Yesterday, news coming out that he has been selected for the Major League Baseball All-Star Game. Crazy to see a guy make a leap like that just a year ago, pitching in Omaha, winning the national championship in the SEC for LSU. And a year later, he makes a Major League Baseball All-Star Game. Pretty impressive stuff there. And one more note before we go. Did want to pass this along. Not always great news here, but Kyrie Jackson killed over the weekend in an automobile accident, according to multiple reports. the rookie corner's agent and his high school coach confirmed. He's 24 years old, former Oregon and Alabama defensive back. Was drafted in the 4th round of this year's draft by the Minnesota Vikings. Played in 21 games across 2 seasons for Alabama in 2021 and 2022. Made a start in the 2021 National Championship game against Georgia, recording 14 tackles. Transferred over to Oregon for an expanded role and won the starting job at corner there. But awful news. The kid we saw at the Senior Bowl, and a lot of people were very interested in him and did an amazing job of improving his draft stock and becoming a really, really good player. And people had high hopes to see what he's going to be able to do in the NFL, but unfortunate news, passing away in a tragic automobile accident over the weekend. Rest in peace to Kyrie Jackson. All right, thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Shout out to everydayers. Keep coming back and checking us out. Our thanks to Brady Cook, Missouri quarterback, for joining us. Hey, for your second listen, check out Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It's called Locked On Sports Today, streaming 24/7. Check it out on YouTube or the Amazon Fire TV channels app, Locked On Sports Today. That's going to do it for this today's show. I'm Chris Gordy. We'll talk to you guys later in the week right here on Locked On SEC.